Hi guys, Scott Forster here. I'm the GC lawyer, and this is my wife,
I'm Diana Lima.
and we are construction lawyers in South Florida. We commonly represent both contractors and homeowners during issues that arise during build processes. People are having a home built, issues arise, and lawsuits inevitably come from these types of things. Being that we've been practicing in this industry so long, we have a lot of best tips and practices that we want to share with people if you find yourself in this situation, because it's really imperative that the record is clear from the outset about what's going on in your project rather than waiting for it to develop over time. Because sometimes these issues go on for years and years, and there's a lot of unsure facts about what was going on or whatnot. So one of the main issues that we see in this case when you're having this type of issue is always going to be, well, who breached first? And there's three typical things that arise during these cases. The builder's taking too long. Maybe there's a time that was promised or insinuated about how long your project's going to take, and it's going well beyond that. The second issue is the work isn't to your standard. You had set out for a standard. It's a type of material that's supposed to be used. There's issues with the type of the quality of the build. And the last big issue that they have is the money. Now, the contractor wants another 20 grand, but I thought I already paid for this. How much more do I got to pay? How much is it to finish my contract? He gave me a budget, but now I see there's words in here about change orders and sometimes materials. And sometimes the contracted price can change. And then there's a lot of disputes as to money. So those are the three big ticket items about there. Now, I'm going to deal with the first issuance where it's like, hey, something has gone wrong. I want to terminate the contract. And this is the termination issue, okay, that arises. And we have some tips about before you start doing these things to keep in mind. I'm going to let Diana explain a little bit about some best practices about your termination letter with your contract.
Thank you. So now you're ready to part ways and you don't want it to continue to work with your contractor. We have to look at the actual paperwork. We have to look at the contract and see if there is a specific section that goes over what needs to be done either by the contractor, because sometimes the contractor is the one that is going to be terminating the homeowner. But in this case, from the homeowner doesn't want it to continue to work with the contractor. That specific section in your contract is going to tell you what you need to do. Now, if that section is silent as to what to do, then Florida law will give you the information that you have to follow. And for example, when you reach out to our office so we can draft a letter to terminate the contract, most of the times you do have to provide opportunity to cure. And that means you got to go back to the actual project and figure it out. What are the things that are going wrong?
Yes.
That termination letter has to be very specific to your particular needs and what happened to your project. And I think Scott is going to go over the fact that people sometimes they try to get a sample online. They want to use ChatGPT as a tool for drafting these letters.
So the first thing to ask yourself is, what is the problem here? If it's the quality of the build, there is a specific statute of Florida called 558, and it deals with defective construction. It's a very detailed one, but it also requires you to provide notice to the contractor and an opportunity to cure. You can't just say the work's no good, you're out of here. It's a very fine line between defective and warranty issues. That's number one. Number two, if it's a money issue, okay, he wants more money. I don't know how much more it's going to be. I think he's charging me too much. I think he's taking the money. Then you're going to want to do one thing. You're going to want to say, hey, I want a sworn statement of my account. Sworn statement of account. It is an affidavit from your contractor that basically says, this is what I paid for, this is what's outstanding, and this is what it's going to cost to finish your project. So if you're dealing with a money issue and you're somewhere in the middle of your build, you're in drawer 3, drawer 4, and he's telling you this or that, you want a sworn statement of account, because he's going to have to nail it down and sign to it about where you are in your project. And also it protects you, because if this develops into a lawsuit, you don't want to be hit with an unjust enrichment or breach of contract claim saying that, well, you didn't pay for your roof. Look,
Yes.
you breached that, you left the contract and you didn't pay for your roof. Here's the full roof bill. You only paid part of it. Or so when you have this sworn statement of account, you'll know exactly where your project is. And a lot of times it's a combination. It's taking too long and I don't know where the money is. So the sworn statement of account and an opportunity to cure need to be included in your termination notice. Otherwise, you will be found to have breached the contract first and you could be
Yes.
liable for damages suffered by the contractor. Okay? Um, Now, each letter has to be specific to your case, okay? A lot of times people are using AI, ChatGPT, and whatnot to generate generic things, but they don't doesn't really know the law or best practices of what can happen in court. Being that we deal with this all the time, I know the exact things you want. So these termination letters are not like, hey, let me just call a lawyer. How much for a termination letter? And think it's just like a 10-minute thing that they're just going to fire out and be like, well, how does the lawyer? These things need to be done to a particular level of attention to detail so that it protects the record for you going forward. So we like to really get to know your case. Okay. That's just real briefly about the termination letter, getting out of the contract, dialing in the issue of what you're facing. Okay. Now, when you deal with us, we're going to look at other issues preliminary as well. What are the entities you're dealing with? Who's the licensing person? Because in our experience, it's best to include as many people as you can in this as it evolves, because that brings pressure on people to settle quicker. You don't want to be going after an entity from the outset that your claim may not lie with them exactly. So you want to make sure you're dealing with the proper entity and any possible entity from the outset. Okay. So, guys, if you hire our firm, we treat our clients like family. You deal directly with us. You don't deal with some secretary, paralegal, or anything like that. When you have issues, you deal with us. And because we give that level of attention to detail, we're very specific about the cases that we take, because we are very intimately involved with our clients and their matters. Okay. Our phone number is 239-202-0027. And any of your issues really dealing with construction matters, please call us. Let's see where you're at. We can definitely help you and at least get you in the right direction. Diana?
Yeah, our goal is to make sure that whatever you're looking for is exactly what you get. If you are owed money, we'll get you paid. If what you want is a mutual walk away from your contract, we can actually tell you if that is possible. We're always going to be honest with you. We're not going to give you any story just so we can get a file. That's not the way we work. We want to make sure that you get exactly what you deserve.
Great. So guys, that's all for this video. I wanted to keep it short just to introduce ourselves and point out some initial things that arise during these tensions. Because when it comes to our desk, that's usually the point where it's at. So that's just some information from us about the initial steps in dealing with contractors, homeowners, stuff like that. So call us and let's talk about your case and see how we can help you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye.
Thank you.